maintain their record, their standing in the NFC, which I think we all will, but it's going to require a big effort from the Lions down the stretch in these last 9 games. We talked about offensive players that need to step up, so now we are going to go to the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to start with you, Lucas Klotz. Which defensive player on the Lions needs to step up the most in the second half of the season?
There was a couple ways that I wanted to approach this. Did I want to go Aiden Hutchinson? Yes. But then again, I think for him to step up, I think a lot of players on the defensive line have to step up as well, just because it can't be a one-man army down there in the trenches. I know we see Max Crosby out in Vegas basically doing it every week, but we can't expect Aiden Hutchinson in year 2 to be Max Crosby right now. I don't think that's fair. I think they're two different types of players, and just their situations are completely different. One player that has been playing well, again, this is not saying that this player has not been playing well, but one that needs to continue to step up is Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton right now is holding down that secondary at the cornerback position. And if you look at the game that the Lions have, they have the Chargers. He's going to have to go up against Keenan Allen. The Packers, you can say what you want about their offense, but Christian Watson, he can take a 5-yard slant route to the house at any point. Then you go to the Bears. They got DJ Moore. The Vikings, I don't believe Justin Jefferson's going to be back this season, but even Justin Jefferson's not. Jordan Addison. The Vikings again, so you got Jordan Addison. The Bears again, DJ Moore. You go down to the Saints, Chris Olave or Michael Thomas. The Broncos, Jerry Jeudy or Cortland Sutton. And finally, the Cowboys with CeeDee Lamb. That Cowboys game, Cam Sutton, in my opinion, he's going to be the player that has to step up the most, because if you shut down CeeDee Lamb, you have a great run defense. And if you shut down all these number 1 wide receivers, I think this team's in a great spot defensively. So if Cam Sutton, and I know he looked a couple of times like burnt toast against Davante Adams, but that's what happens when you go man-to-man against Davante Adams. Davante Adams will do that to any NFL cornerback. So I'm not going to – yes, it was scary seeing Cam Sutton get burnt like that, but it's Davante Adams. It's just what he does. It's going to happen eventually. So if Cam Sutton steps up like he has been this whole game or this whole season, I like to see him get a couple turnovers, but I'm not going to be mad at him if it's not, because if he's not getting turnovers, it's most likely not being thrown to his side. So he's doing his job regardless. If he keeps stepping up against the receivers going up in this schedule, the Lions are going to be in a really good spot defensively.
You know, that's a great point, because Cam Sutton has obviously been one of the bright spots. And we look at the Lions' schedule moving forward as, it's a little bit light, but there's still some wide receivers who you mentioned, like DJ Moore, for example, Keenan Allen, Jordan Addison, and, Chris Olave, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Thomas. That is a great point, because every team has talented players, and I would say the secondary is a position group on the Lions that there's still some question marks, but there's going to be a lot less question marks if Cam Sutton continues to play like a cornerback 1, which for the most part he has done this season. Credit to Cam Sutton. JB Smoove, who is the player on the Detroit Lions on the defensive side of the ball that needs to step up the most for them in the second half of the season?
All right, so we had a discussion about this on Heavyweights last night. Shout out to Easy. I see him in the chat here. Shout out to the Heavyweights as well, too. You can catch him at Dispo live later tonight at Hazel Park. Come through if you can. But and I don't want to put too much disrespect on this guy, but it's just I feel like we expected a lot more from him, and that is one Jack Campbell.
Now, I like that.
That's
JB.
a great one.
I
Keep
like
going.
that one.
Yeah, we expected a lot more from him, especially in the position he was picked in the first round, 18th overall pick. I just feel like he's just getting overshadowed by Alex Anzalone, and that's no disrespect to him as well, too, because he is balling out. He's doing his job out there that he needs to be. But it's just like Jack Campbell is a guy that everyone seems to be rooting for, but he just goes unnoticed out there on the field and in the stat sheets as well. I mean, he's doing great things as it is right now, 21 solo tackles as it is, but still it's just like he just seems to be a guy out there, and we don't want him to be just a guy out there. You want him to be that guy out there to improve this defense and be the captain, but it's just not happening. So I would love to see him just step up and take on some more roles and more responsibilities out there.
You know what? I think that that's a very, very good answer, because when you look at the rookies, their first 4 draft picks, their first round of their second round draft picks, we obviously, Sam Laporta, amazing. Brian Branch, amazing. Jahmyr Gibbs started off a little bit slow, but especially in that last game, you see somebody who can be that number 12 overall pick running back. But with Jack Campbell, I think there are definitely still some question marks. He's made some plays, but his consistency, his impact, just it hasn't been what I thought he would be. One of the most NFL ready players as a rookie out of anyone in this draft, and so far his reviews, I would say, have been mixed. Not all bad, by the way. Kool-Aid, who is the player on the Detroit Lions defense that you would like to see step up the most in the second half of the season?
Listen, with him making his return, I want to see James Houston hit
That's a
the
great
ground
answer. Great
running,
answer.
man. That's what I want to see. I believe he can be that player if he's healthy that can help to free up Aiden Hutchinson just a little bit more. His speed and his ability to just get off the line of scrimmage and get into the backfield is awesome. We posted that video to socials. Shout out to our social team, Lucas Booner, and we got a new guy, Jack, as well. Where he had a sack on Justin Fields just because he bull rushed the guy that was trying to block him right into Justin Fields. Well, it's just like, I love it, man. He's absolutely somebody that I think can blow up the other team's offense right off the line of scrimmage, man. James Houston. Let's get it.
James Houston is a great one. I see a lot of James Houston in the chat. I think it was Mark Royal who said that Cam Sutton has been the best defensive player for the Lions this year. I wouldn't go that far, but he's been very, very
he's
good.
top 3 for sure.
No, 100%. I don't hate that. I see Christian Vieira, I believe is how you pronounce your name. I haven't seen you in the Woodward Sports chat before. Welcome. Need Brian Branch to step up again like he did earlier in the season. And you know what? I don't think that that's necessarily unfair because at the beginning of the year, especially with that pick 6, especially with that game against Atlanta, you're thinking, oh my goodness, this could be a guy who could compete for Defensive Rookie of the Year. I think that ship has, for the most part, sailed. Injuries have a lot to do with it, but I think he stepped up and played big against the Raiders. But Brian Branch, I don't necessarily hate it. I see some Aaron Glenn chatter in the Woodward Sports chat. I don't necessarily. I think that's. I can't hate it. I'm not saying he's been bad. I'm just saying that we're talking about stepping up.
Yeah, you can't hate it, but you can't love it either. I think Aaron Glenn has been. I know people were jumping on him after the Seattle game, I included, because just the scheme that they were doing, having the corners 8-9 yards off. But Aaron Glenn, you look at how this defense is compared to the rest of the league, and then you actually break down the defense and the talent compared to it. Aaron Glenn is doing a phenomenal job. Yeah. Can he step up? Absolutely, but I don't think he's the guy that has to. If he keeps coaching how he is, I think this defense will be just fine in a very good spot.
Yeah, no, I would say that Aaron Glenn has been, I wouldn't say the least of the Lions' problems, but everybody could step up and everybody could get a little bit better because, to be fair, the performances against the Ravens and against the Seahawks, it left some to be desired. I mean, they gave up 37, although 6 of them was from a pick 6, and then 38 to the Seahawks, and then 38 to the Ravens. So my answer for this one, I'm going to kind of piggyback off of what Kool-Aid was saying, but I'm going to be a little bit less specific. I'm going to cheat a tad. I am going to say an edge rusher opposite Aiden Hutchinson, whether it be Charles Harris, whether it be one of the Aquaras, whether it be John Kaminsky, whether it be a return from injury from James Houston so that maybe he could be at least somewhat of a facsimile of what he was last year. We don't know because he had such a historic rookie season last year, but still somebody opposite of Hutch, because Julian Okwara has 2, John Kaminsky has 1, and Charles Harris has 1.5, and all of those guys have either missed games like Julian Okwara, or I believe Charles Harris was a healthy scratch. John Kaminsky has been a little bit disappointing, but I will say this, and this is something that I think has been a little bit too prevalent on other shows and maybe in Lions discourse lately. I feel like people are kind of turning on Aiden Hutchinson, and I don't like it.
Yeah, because I see in the comments, it's like, we need Hutch to step up. I understand that you want Aiden Hutchinson to play better, but at the end of the day, the man is like, when you are game planning for the Detroit Lions, the number one person you're stopping first is Aiden Hutchinson. Aiden Hutchinson has the ability to wreck any game that he pleases, but he's getting doubled and triple teamed even sometimes. And I don't see a way for Aiden Hutchinson to step up his game if the others don't around him as well. I think he can play better 100%, but it's really hard for him in the role that he is, and the fact that he is just being the number one person that's getting shut down on the defensive side of the ball. Like, I know he's the number 2 pick, and we see Kayvon Thibodeau 8.5 sacks over in New York. Detroit Lions don't have a Dexter Lawrence, and I'm not saying that they need to. I know the trade deadline passed. We didn't get anybody. So this is the squad that we have, and I'm happy with it. But you need Aiden Hutchinson to get more help if you want to see that true step up, in my opinion.
Well,
and I'm not saying he's not going to have a 10-sack season, an 11-sack season. Like, I think Aiden Hutchinson can still finish with 11, 12 sacks. But for him to step up, first, I think the others need to your point.
Yes, and Speak Easy Sports, Easy in the chat, I give him a lot of credit. He said, I had to defend Hutch yesterday. Yes, I was watching the heavyweights at the time, and I thought Spencer Raxter, for example, was way too harsh on him. He gave Aiden Hutchinson a B- for this season. I'm like,
what else do you want him to do?
About?
What else can Aiden Hutchinson do?
And that's all well and good. I have a lot of respect for Spencer and his opinions. He's very, very smart. But I think that this emphasis, and don't get me wrong, both things can be true. I predicted Aiden Hutchinson would have 15 sacks this year. And I'm going to have to probably be on the stand and say he won't get to that amount. But this idea that Aiden Hutchinson has been anything other than exemplary and the best player on this defense, I think is just, people are really treating pressures now for some reason like they don't matter at all. Well,